The first letter here says, Dear sisters, I want to stay anonymous. I've been married for 10 years and I'm gifted with 3 beautiful and intelligent children. 3 years into our marriage, I decided I want to completely ignore my man, to put on self-love because he switched character from quiet, humble, and shy to demeaning and manipulative and insulting. My decision worked very well for me because I've been able to save enough to work on future retirement projects. I'm a happy mother with my children, but the same cannot be said about me being his wife. My problem is, he is still too insulting. I reported his attitude to some significant persons in his life, his pastor, church elder, and a family elder, to talk to him. But he hasn't changed. I'm most angry because of him. I'm always angry because of him. I'm afraid my children may also learn this bad habit. Should I end this relationship? Sisters, please advise me. Sisho, what are your thoughts?
You know, someone said something one time. I think I chanced on a video that the woman was talking about how marriage is one thing that would affect every other aspect of your life if you don't choose well. Nobody condones divorce, but I think the advantage that we find as sisters sitting on this panel is the fact that you get to share an opinion on something, and it doesn't necessarily have to be what everybody believes in, or it doesn't also have to be because the rest of the sisters have to also agree on the same thing. So it gives you varied opinions, and then you look at your lifestyle and your choices and you make a choice that will best suit you. Personally, I don't condone any form of abuse in a relationship. And I think you'd all know that about me. So once a relationship gets to the point where there is some form of abuse and you've tried to use all means to mitigate that issue or to nip certain things in the bud and it's not working, I always advise you work out, because you need to be alive to be able to take care of your children. That's one. And people always think that, oh, physical abuse is the only form of abuse that there is. But emotional abuse is even more deeper than physical abuse. There are people who will not hate you physically, but the kind of things they will do to you will create a deeper hole in your soul than... I remember I was telling a friend of mine that I had dated this person who, there were things that he would say that when you're in the bathroom 3 years down the line and you're bathing and you still remember, you still cry in the bathroom. It gets that bad with some people, how verbally abusive they can get. And so if a relationship ever gets to that point with anyone and you have done or tried all kinds of means to get it to not work, or for the person not to change, I think it's time for you to consider getting out of that. However, divorce is not easy on women, especially because of how the patriarchy is created and because of how we women are positioned in the world generally. Because just recently, I had been thinking about this thing, but I wasn't able to articulate what it was until somebody spoke about it, about, I think it's called the motherhood punishment or something, where once you become a mother, because you are the sole, you are the nurturer in the home, and you are the sole caretaker of children, you have to take a back seat, especially when it comes to the corporate life, so that you will be able to take care of the kids. The father doesn't have that problem. Right from pregnancy, they can still go to work and do all that. And if you are somebody who struggles with pregnancy, then it means you have to get off work from a very early stage of pregnancy to be able to take care of yourself and take care of an unborn child until they are born. And even throughout their birth, through to at least 5 years, you still have to cater for them until they go to preschool or something. And so it's never easy on a woman when you have children to deal with in the cases of divorce. However, I think if she starts to consider that, she would also have to consider the financial implications of moving on, especially with your children, and then put in place plans to make sure your lives are still okay once you make that move. However, it is important to make that move because of also the children, not just you, because what then happens is you are teaching your children when you stay in such relationships, that it is okay to condone these things.
Yeah.
And
That is
once
normal.
you teach kids that is how we've become a society that has raised kids that are traumatized, and a lot of things just get to us on different levels. But if you're able to raising loving kids is not just having daddy at home. If daddy is abusive, daddy is better off being away from such environments, so that the kids can grow up with the mindset and the loving atmosphere that kids need to thrive in.
Yes.
It is best. So think of it that way, as your own health and well-being, one, and then for your children's health and well-being and thriving in the best environments. Think of it in these two lights, and then make the move that is very, very important for the both of you to thrive. You see, we always think that, this is a third thing I'm raising. We always think that, today I listen to podcasts a lot when I'm working out in the mornings, and I was listening to Trevor Noah this morning. And so some of this is coming from there. We always think that relationships, just because my mother's relationship lasted their whole life, my mom and my dad, their relationship lasted their whole lives, mine is also supposed to last my whole life. No. If it's not working, don't feel guilty. Don't feel like you are a failure. It's life. Things happen. You are not supposed to live your entire life with someone if that is not your trajectory.
Right.
Because if, for example, your husband dies and you become a widow, you are not living with the person for the rest of your life. It's still the same thing. If you died and he is alive, you've not lived the rest of your life with this person. So the point is, look at it as, okay, this was the beginning and the end to a particular point in my life. Now let's move on to the next thing. Vis-a-vis, I failed, and so if I leave, I failed. So I need to do whatever it takes to be in this environment or to be seen as married.
Right. Rosie?
Yeah, my thoughts don't differ very much from that of Sicho's. The thing is, marriage was intended to be good. And from where I sit, marriage shouldn't be that hard if both of you primarily respect each other, love each other, and make that conscious choice. And I believe that the key word here is choice, to be together, run a home, and all of that. And especially when children start coming into the family, you realize that both of you have a bigger purpose to make your marriage work. Now, when these things start happening, then it takes away from the health of the family. And like Sicho rightly said, in the beginning, she was okay. After 3 years, she did her own self-empowerment, went out, took care of herself, managed to save enough money for her work, and she actually said future retirement projects, which means that she's a very forward-thinking lady. So she decided to concentrate on herself day in, day out, and she's managed to build herself amidst the chaos. Now, she has saved herself. But the question is that, what about the children in the marriage? And children learn more from what they see than what they hear. So when you are telling a child, be respectful, be good, do this, do that, and you even give it to them to write on, like the way you used to write lines 1,000,000 times, let them repeat it 1,000,000 times. What they see their parents do, especially the man of the house, the father, is what sticks in their head. And that is what they practice. And this is why sometimes you have children go to school and they get violent in school.
Yeah.
The teachers will call you and tell you that your son is being violent, your daughter is being violent. You're like, me, my son? Because you don't even know what's going on in the child's head. Now, the question is, I'm happy that you've been able to develop yourself, which means that financially, you are not at the mercy of the man. It might not be as easy, but you are not one of those women who doesn't have a way of survival. Number two, you need to value the lives of your children, 3 of them that you have brought into this world. Now, what I will subscribe to is separation. Now, people don't know the value of separation because there are times when these men they have this thing in their minds that the woman cannot leave. Because when I insult you, I know I have insulted you. When I treat you badly, I know I have treated you badly. But if you are still there and taking that insult day in, day out, then I get away with it. It's like a child. When a child is born and the child is crying for everything the child cries for, you give it to it. Everything the child cries for, you give it to it. He's going to cry for everything, including your very soul. And you'll be giving until one day you can't control the child.
Sure.
So the fact that you allowed it to happen once, twice, 3 times, and you are still there, in his mind, he feels, oh, well, she's talking.
And she's even called people to advise.
Yeah, and she's talking, it will end.
Yeah.
You call people to advise, oh, it's going to end. Or you've called it, oh, it's going to end. And like Sicho said, there are some forms of abuse that are worse than, look, the thing about physical abuse is that it's evident.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from you feeling it, everybody can see. If you have a swollen eye, everybody can see you have a swollen eye. If you have a slap mark on your face, everybody can see it. If you have a bruise, everybody can see it. So it's easy for people to sympathize with you when you are going through physical abuse. But that emotional abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse, sometimes even social abuse, you see, it sits on the very core of your mental health. And even though you've managed to break free financially, don't think that you are free mentally or you are free emotionally. Because the guy is, because at the very tail end of the message, I think she says something about she's always angry.
Yes.
And what happens is that when they're manipulative like that, you are always angry. So even though you are providing for the children and everything, the children are always seeing an angry mother.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not careful, a time will come when the children would actually choose to be with the man and not with you. Because such manipulative people, they upset you, but they give a different image to the children.
Yeah,
so they'll buy gifts for the children, they'll do things with the children, take the children out, and then they are getting you angry.
No, and some even go to the extent of telling the children, your mom is always angry.
It's always angry. Why is she doing?
Why she
So make it look like
John's mom is not like this. Why is
Exactly.
your
So
mom
that
like
means
this?
if you're not careful, you'll be there, and then they'll end up making you look like the villain in the life of the children. Meanwhile, you are doing everything possible. So if you don't take care, you lose on both fronts. So my advice is that, look, my dear, you've been able to work and get yourself financially, even if you don't like the idea of divorce, because when it comes to marriages and divorce, listen, nobody can advise you to leave a man or to leave a woman. Nobody can advise you to leave a relationship. We can only tell you, put the cards on the table. Look, listen, ideally, this is the situation. This is what you are going through. We can understand what you are going through. But if I were you, this is what I would do. I would say, look, just be apart for a while. Sometimes when you're in somebody's face too much, they don't value you, or they take you for granted, or they think, oh, you're Rock of Gibraltar, you're always there. So sometimes you need to step out. Let the people know what they are missing.
Yeah.
Let the people know what they had. And then maybe this time around, he will turn around. I've seen it work. So I'm sure if you try something like that, it would work.
Yeah. Olivia?
I always say before you embark on the journey of marriage, it's advisable that you know your partner to some extent. You never know them, but it's advisable to get that one person that your partner respects, that one person that your partner would want to listen to, that one person that your husband is shy of or respects so much, so that when there's a problem and you go to that one person, they would actually listen. So, and we always sit here and we go on about, oh, relationship is about communication. So talk to him. There's no point talking to somebody who's not ready to listen. No point talking to somebody who's not going to be empathetic of you or also see things from your perspective. You've been to church, you've called this, you've called that. Literally, you're the only person who sees the urgency in the relationship. You're the only person who thinks that it's very necessary for both of you to get help. It's sad when somebody is sick and they expect the other person to drink the medicine alone or drink the medicine for themselves. So honestly, I feel like 1, you've checked out of the relationship. 2, you've got it all going. 3, and there's something that they say about women who are able to survive with their children and without a man. A woman who is independent, a woman who's got it all sorted out, a woman who can make it in life without a man, there's no stopping her. Because at the end of the day, as a man is supposed to both of you are supposed to come together to make everything work. But if he doesn't want to see reason with you, he's being abusive, you've spoken to him, you've gotten people to speak to him and doesn't want to change, honestly, honey bunny, I think that it's time for you to just take a back step a little bit. I wouldn't go and say, oh, divorce him, but I will ask you to take a step back a little bit. Move away. If you need to move away a little bit with your children and all of that, do that. But you also need a lot of work, because being exposed to a lot of these forms of abuse, they've affected you one way or the other. But sometimes as mothers, we get so busy taking care of children, taking care of this, dealing emotionally with all the hurt and stress, that we never sit back to ask ourselves, how are we really? How are we doing really? So I think that you need to work on yourself with regards to therapy, with regards to seeing a psychologist, somebody to help you handle that anger, that thing that triggers you to be angry. It's very normal for you to feel the way that you're feeling, because usually when you're at the opposite side of abuse, there's a lot of things inside you that you want to vent, but you can't be able to vent because of the circumstances around. So definitely you'll be angry with yourself, angry at everybody, angry at the person who is, putting the abuse on you. So by all means, I feel like if you get some help, you'll be well mentally, physically, emotionally, and you'll be more in a more advantageous position to be able to be there for your children. And I think you also need to have that serious conversation with your children as well. You need to, especially at the time when you finally decide that, oh, you're going to stay away from daddy, you need to explain to them, depending on how old they are, especially the slightly older one, tell them that you're doing this for a good reason. You're doing this because you want to be better for them, because we all forget that when two elephants are fighting, is the ground that actually suffers. So just speak to them. And now these children that we have, they're so intelligent. Don't think that they don't see what's going on or they don't feel what's going on, but be open to them as much as possible about how you feel and about the situation and what you're going to do to make things better. These little things help to make our children more independent. They sort of revive the confidence that our children have in us. So have that personal interaction with them, because they will ask, once you decide to move out, with or without the man's consent, they'll ask, where is daddy, all of that, so explain to them, because the children are very precious and they usually never ask to be in this situation. So by all means, just always have that at the back of your mind, that your children need to be safe. And I think that you're good. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want to feel like you're the cause. I don't want you, because I feel like you've actually got it all covered. It's just that you don't want to feel too bad about either divorcing him or, separating from him. What society thinks. Society will always talk. Whether immediately you marry, they'll talk. When you get divorced, they'll talk. Everything society will talk. But I feel like you need to be happy. You deserve to be happy. If you deserve for you to have like that strong mental well-being, which is very important, you deserve to also be alive with lots of love to take care of your children. So there's nothing wrong in having a second chance in life. I really don't see. And if you also do separate, and at some point in time this guy wakes up and has a wake-up call, and then he goes through the whole process, then you know that, okay, if he's going to come back, at least you be independent. It means that now you're in a power of strength, whereby when he's like, he starts to be abusive, that is if you decide to give him a second chance. If he comes back and it repeats, you know that, okay, you've completely written him off. But at the end of the day, it gives you a lot of room to be independent and strong and give yourself a second chance, and you deserve that.
Right.
So,
okay, so we actually have some comments from Facebook on this issue. Lawrence Eddie says, I don't think ending the marriage with him is the right thing to do, considering how far you have come with him. You approached people, as you said in your submission, to talk to him. But what of you, the wife? What efforts have you made to change him because you decided to ignore him and focus just on yourself? That is selfishness on your part.
Wow.
He switched character, which you have not been been able to diagnose till date. It must interest you to find out because definitely something is really bothering him. And Lawrence, I want to let you know that this is a full-grown adult we're talking about, not a child. Not a child, a full-grown adult. So I don't understand what you mean by, ignoring him. Yeah, something's bothering him. I don't understand. Why can't he talk? Did something tie his mouth?
And plus, your wife has also created opportunities for you guys to dialogue at home, out of home. So what's the biggie?
Before the wife would go somewhere to call somebody to talk to, it means obviously she's trying to do that herself.
Okay, we have another message from Orlando Newman. We will not tell you to end the marriage of 10 years. Whatever way you survived all these years, just continue the same. Just build resilience. We need to remind you guys that marriage is not supposed to be. It's not suffering. Matter.
Marriage is not a hard work.
Exactly.
It's not manual labor.
Exactly.
You see, this thing about building resilience, and that is why sometimes when people say black woman, strong woman, you see, we are not meant to be strong. We are meant to be women. So this thing where you build resilience, because a lot of women who are very bitter, like when you speak to the older generation, there are a lot of women who were resilient. They give them awards in church. The resilient woman who was this, he has done this, maintained the home for 25 years, 30 years, but their souls, but their souls are not happy. And some of these women cry when they're even giving them awards, they can't even smile. Their smile is perfect. You can see
celebrating the suffering of women.
You see their eyes. Exactly. You see their eyes, and their eyes are telling stories of depression, of hurt, of pain. And meanwhile, they've made it all up. Look, listen. Why can't men allow women to also enjoy marriage? Why does it have to be the woman's sole purpose to make sure that to maintain them? It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street, and that is why when you are getting married, it's not only the woman who says I do or I will when the man is quiet. So it means that it's the woman's duty to perform. Both of you have made promises to each other. Both of you have made vows to each other to put in the work. And you see, a lot of men put a lot of energy into their offices, into their work. And trust me, at 60, if God gives you that life, you've retired from that work. Sometimes even when you leave the office doesn't even remember that you were even there after 2-3 years. You understand? So why don't you put in that amount of energy into your home that would have your children, your grandchildren, who they're the ones who know you and remember you.
I think it's an African thing. We always equate a good wife to
somebody who can suffer.
A suffering wife.
A suffering wife, a quiet wife, a wife who doesn't complain, who doesn't talk to anybody.
Allows you to do what you want to do.
You see, it's good.
Anyway, we have another message. Irene Jacqueline Okran says, to help your children not to learn his habits, stop being angry yourself and be cheerful when you are with them.
How does she stop being angry?
It's not a human being. Not a pencil. She's a human being, not a pencil.
And I keep saying that human beings are designed to express emotion. So, for instance, if somebody is happy, you can't tell a person stop being happy.
Exactly.
So why do you want me to stop being angry?
Exactly.
Yeah. So Golden Boy says, is this one too a problem? Just ignore the insults and teach your children good manners. You can use their dad as an example to your children.
Which dad?
Someone is insulting his wife always, and you want to use him as an example to his children.
The funny thing, Chris, the sad part we are all ignoring in this, or we've not spoken about so far, is the fact that once a man starts being like that, abusive verbally, it's only going to escalate. Exactly, to the point where he's psychologically abusing you, physically abusing you, mentally.
It's everything.
It's a downward spiral from where it is now.
And then we have a last one from Oguchelina. She says, please do not let anyone drag you down with them. Choose joy and continue to work on your happiness. Above all, congratulations for putting yourself first.
Exactly.
No matter how long this has come, we both know that this does not look like a forever deal. So making a decision and doing what's best for your mental health is key.
It reminds me of a video I watched yesterday. There's this woman who speaks about relationships a lot. I don't know if you've chanced on her videos. I'll tag you in it one of these days. And she was talking about how men don't like women who suffer for them or who put them first.
Exactly.
Men like women who put themselves first. So because then they know that you value yourself. The moment you put yourself on the sideline and you are focusing on them, they don't respect you and they don't value anything you bring to the table. But if you give that same focus to yourself, then they know that you value yourself. You know what you have. That's why you're giving yourself focus. It changed my entire perspective on this whole thing.
You know, quickly, to the guy who was going on about why the girl changed her attitude, because she didn't have time to deal with his crap. She was not ready to babysit him. So she had to exit mentally and be strong. So if the guy can't handle that, and you know, she's after being independent like that, she still went through the trouble to solve the problem by getting other people involved so that we could dialogue. So if he doesn't, he has problems. If he doesn't want to talk about it, who's going to babysit him?
And interestingly, part of being a matured man is the fact that you have to understand that in the marriage,
it's true.
It's a two-way street. It can't be one way where you are always doing the wrong.
And let me give one free advice.
Guys, we need to take a break here.
See, if you want a happy home, especially for a man, just make sure respect your wife. Make sure she's happy.
Yeah.
Just love her. Make sure she's happy, and you are sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, let's take a quick break and then we'll be right back to continue the show.